Hare Krishna. So we went through the entire second chapter in our Golok Gurukul class over the last 2 weeks. Now in this video, let's try and get the summary of the entire second chapter. So what is the title of this chapter? The title of this chapter is Sankhya Yoga, or Contents of the Gita Summarized. The way Gita is structured is very interesting. Though there are 18 chapters in entire Gita, actually Krishna's Bhagavad Gita is over in the second chapter itself. So if you have read the second chapter, understood the second chapter, you actually understood the entire Gita. So if at the end of the second chapter Arjuna didn't ask a single question, then Krishna would have said, thank you very much, Gita would be over. It's because Arjuna kept asking questions after questions and wants the detail and elaboration of all the concepts, which we'll cover in the future chapters. So this chapter, second chapter, comprises of so many learnings, analytical concepts, so many analogies have used. So please pay attention. So how did the first chapter finish? It finished with Arjuna is keeping his Gandiv bow on the side and completely depressed. And he said, "O Govindai, I will not fight." And looking at his situation, Krishna starts speaking in the second chapter. And from the second verse of this chapter, Krishna has been formally introduced with what? Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. And that is something I would like to focus on initially. Who is a Bhagavan? Bhagavan is someone who possesses 6 opulences in completeness. All of us in the world, we want to have these 6 opulences. And when we have a small portion of these opulences, we become very proud. But Krishna is someone who has these 6 opulences in completeness. So what are those? Beauty, knowledge, fame, wealth, strength, and renunciation. And another way in which Bhagavan can be interpreted is, there is a beautiful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti Bhagavan iti sabhyate. This is the one verse which introduces us to 3 aspects of God. God can be perceived as 3 ways: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Each aspect is more complete than the previous. Brahman is the first aspect of God, which is the light emitting from God's body. It is called Brahman effulgence. A lot of people stop there. They think they understood God. They think, now I know God. Effulgence coming out of Krishna, his body, is known as Brahma Jyoti. Many people who worship God as light, so many yogis worship this formless aspect of God. But this is not the complete understanding of God. There is more to that. That is Paramatma. Paramatma is there in everyone's heart. We all have a private God in our heart, and that is known as Paramatma. But the complete manifestation of God is known as Bhagavan. Also in the scripture, you'll find terminology called like Shri Rudra Uvacha or Shri Brahma Uvacha. Rudra when Shiva introduced, and Brahma when Uvacha means when Brahmaji introduced. But wherever Krishna is introduced, anywhere, it is always said Shri Bhagavan Uvacha. Shri Bhagavan terminology is only used for Krishna. Let me tell you an amazing and an interesting story. Many, many years back, a group of sages came together. And these sages, having an intense discussion and wanted to find out from all these greats, Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh, who is the greatest. And they appoint one sage amongst them who test and find out who is the greatest amongst the three. And that sage name is Bhrigu, who was initially very scared. Well, how can he test all these three personalities? But all sages encouraged Bhrigu Rishi to go. Bhrigu Rishi devised a very interesting test. For those of you into this psychology test, this is the first ever psychological test ever devised in the history of the world. Bhrigu devised this greatness test. He decided to provoke them. Srila Prabhupada, in this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, he talks about a very interesting statement. He said the greatness of a person is determined by his ability to tolerate provoking situation. How great you are is determined by how much provocation you can handle. Well, you and me, we can easily say we are not great at all, because one small provocation and we succumb, we surrender, and it's gone completely, right? But look at what Bhrigu did. He went to Lord Brahma first, and he got a personal connection with the Brahma. Bhrigu is Brahma's son. So Bhrigu walks into father's abode, purposely didn't pay obeisances to Brahmaji, and purposely avoided. Brahmaji noticed, but didn't say anything. He kept quiet. But Bhrigu saw the eyes of Brahma. He saw the anger in his eyes. This means Brahmaji's have been provoked, so he decided, you are not the greatest. So he walks away from there. Then he went to the abode of Lord Shiva. And Shiva and Bhrigu are like brothers. They loved each other. Shiva saw Bhriguji and Shiva ran to embrace his brother Bhrigu to welcome him. But when Shiva reached very close to Bhrigu, Bhrigu said, stay away. Don't touch me. Your body is filled with ashes. I don't want to touch you. Bhrigu did the second level of offense. He provoked him at the highest level. With Brahma, he provoked him with a mental offense. He didn't do anything wrong. He only mentally offended him by not paying the respect. But with Shiva, he did a second level of offense, which is known as verbal offense. He actually told Shiva, don't touch me. You are dirty. Shiva was so angry and he took his Trishul to kill him. But Parvati Devi intervened and stopped Shiva. Bhrigu immediately decided that Shiva is not the greatest. And then he went to the Vaikuntha and walked into Vishnu's room. And he did the third level of offense. He kicked Vishnu on his chest. Imagine you kicking someone when they're relaxing. That too in front of Lakshmi Devi. This is the highest level of offense. This is physical offense. As soon as Vishnu was kicked on his chest by Bhrigu Muni, Vishnuji did something incredible. He got up and started massaging the feet of Rishi and said, my dear sage, your feet must be hurt because my chest is as hard as stone and your feet are as soft as lotus. Let me massage your feet. And when Vishnu did that, Bhrigu was shocked and bewildered. He could not believe that someone who has just been kicked like that, rather than being offended, Vishnuji is showing compassion to the person who kicked him. And he immediately realizes that this person is special. There are a lot of people in the world who provoke us. And when they provoke us, we get angry. And that is exactly what they want. When they provoke us, they expect us to react. They expect us to retaliate. And when we retaliate, they feel good because they feel someone is succumbing to their provocation, surrendering to their provocation. Ideally, we should learn to deal with provocation just like Lord Vishnu. Instead of feeling angry with the Bhrigu, Vishnu felt compassion to Bhrigu because the one who provoke is not the stronger than you. Actually, he's weaker than you. The person who provokes is not the powerful. In school and colleges, we have bullies. And now with online world, we have cyber bullies. We have bullies everywhere. In every home, there is a bully. Sometimes a wife may be bully. Sometimes a husband may be bully. Sometimes children may be bully. And you know what? In India, sometimes the maid is the bully. So we have bullies all around. And people bully us a lot. One of the things that bullies love is when people get scared. When they react. So either they are scared, that means they surrender to their bullying, or they react very violently. That means they are upset and affected by bullying. But the way we should react is the way tortoise react. You know what tortoise do? It shrinks and pulls its limb into the body and get into this protective shell. Protective shell is what we call as a shell of satsang and self-taught. Satsang help us develop a strong shell, but the ability to go into the shell is something that has to be generated through self-taught. So we have to inspire ourselves to go into the shell. Well, this is the history behind the word Bhagavan. So what is the acronym of this chapter? Acronym of this chapter is Gita. Guru, identity, two duties, and Atmarama. Guru. In these verses, Arjuna is saying, "Oh Krishna, how can I kill Bhishma and Drona? How can I shoot arrows at them? In fact, I should offer flowers at their feet. And I feel I should give up this fight and live begging." Arjuna is expressing his indecisiveness and asking Krishna, I don't know what is better, conquering them or being conquered by them. And this was the fifth reason for not fighting. Remember, I specified 4 reasons in the last chapter. There are 4 qualities of Arjuna that made him receive the knowledge of Gita. And these are mind and self-control, indifference, tolerance, and faith. Surrender. There are 2 rules that help a person in life. Failure can never touch your heart. Failure can never go to the heart, and success can never go to the head. When failure goes to the heart, it causes depression. And when success goes to the head, it causes ego. And Arjuna has reached a stage where he has finally come to the point of the true qualification of understanding the Gita. You know what is the most crucial qualification to understand the Gita? The day you understand that, I don't know. That is the day your education can begin. That's how Arjuna has been thinking so far. He started with ordering Krishna to take him to the middle of the battlefield and thought he can manage everything on his own. But now, after all this confusion, Arjuna understood and he said, I cannot do this all by myself. Let me surrender to Krishna. Shishyasteham sadhimam tvam prapannam. I surrender unto you, O Krishna. This shloka was a transition from 2 friends talking to a disciple surrendering unto his master and accepting this person as a guru. So a friendship relation changed to guru and disciple. And this is the fundamental step in spirituality. One must approach a guru. Identity. In these verses, Krishna will start speaking. And Krishna starts with countering the first argument of Arjuna for not fighting. In the first chapter, Arjuna said, how can I kill my own kinsmen? I cannot kill them. Arjuna was totally filled with compassion, and to counter this and to remove this doubt from Arjuna's mind, Krishna starts speaking the Gyan. He starts giving him the technical knowledge, Sankhya. That is the knowledge of a body and soul. He said all of us are individual, eternally. We keep changing our body from childhood to youth to old age. Similarly, at the time of death, we'll change the body and go to another body. Krishna also said the soul changes the body like a person changes the dress. And you said you're going to kill them? You won't be able to kill them because Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavaka, na chainam klayandi apo, na shashati marutaha. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. So I'm going to give you 9 qualities of us being a soul. And these 9 qualities lead to 9 different benefits of understanding that you are not a body, you are a spirit soul. The first benefit is individuality. What is the meaning of individuality? Individuality means each one of us are different. Each one of us is unique. Each one of us is individuals. We all have our weaknesses and strengths. And they're all different. For someone, singing is so easy, and for someone, singing is so tough. All of us are gifted with unique talents and traits. Because soul is indifferent, Krishna said to Arjuna, you, me, all are there in the past. We are all there now, and we will be there in the future also. That means after that, the soul is going to continue its existence to another realm. And after that, it is not that the soul merge together and lose their existence. They all individually exist separately, right? So the quality of the soul are the same, but we are different individual and not the same. Second quality of the soul is it's indestructible. No weapon can destroy it. No fire can burn the soul. No water can moisten the soul. And no air can dry the soul. Nothing material can affect the soul. It can only do is kill the body, but soul is indestructible. This statement is so powerful. This brings us the quality which is fearlessness. Why fearlessness? Why are we afraid? Most of us are fearful. All sense of fear is connected to the body. Everything we fear is connected to the body. The moment we understand we are not a body, we become fearless. And third quality of the soul is it's eternal. Krishna is talking about eternity of the soul. Body is hardly of any value. Goal of the life is not to take care of the body, it's to take care of the soul. Everyone of us have a tenure in this world. So the best to live in such a way that you don't have to come back. And the fourth quality of the soul is immovable. Achala. Soul cannot be moved because it is spiritual in nature. It takes determination to do anything in life. The moment we understand how immovable we are, we suddenly became aware of our own greatness. The soul being achala, immovable, is beyond all physical changes and disturbances. It remains stable, unaffected by all these external conditions, and is eternally unshaken. This quality teaches us to maintain inner peace and resilience by identifying with the soul's unchanging nature amidst life's fluctuations. Fifth quality of the soul is immeasurable. Apramaya. We weigh. Some of us, we weigh a lot. We are so concerned about our weight. We are also concerned about how our physical appearance is and the way we look. Interestingly, soul is immeasurable. Krishna is talking about the size of the soul as well, which we've covered in even Kahoot as a question. What is that? If you take a tip of the hair and cut it into 100 parts, and if you take that part and cut it again into 100 parts, that is 1/10,000th tip of the hair. What an insignificant existence we have, isn't it? We may occupy a body which is like 60, 70, 80 kilos. But actually, what is our existence? We are immeasurable and so insignificant. And this teaches us what? This teaches us humility. One of the good example is the Krishna holding the Govardhan mountain to teach a lesson to Indra that no one is significant. Another quality of the soul is all-pervading. Sarvagataha. What does that mean? It means the souls are present everywhere. In every corner of the universe, you will find souls. Like right now, in your room, where you're sitting, you think you're the only one in the room? You're wrong. There are actually millions of souls in the room. Don't be scared. There are millions of living entities in the room right now. How many insects? How many bacteria? How many viruses? How many small entities in the room? We think we own the space? This is the meaning of the word sarvagataha. It says there are bacteria in the sun. When we know the soul is all pervading, we become very conscious of the existence of the soul. And when we understand life is everywhere, we become very conscious of its existence. And when we try to live a life that is based on being conscious of the presence of life everywhere, there are a lot of people in the world who decide to live a vegetarian life by not eating meat. That causes harm and pain to animals and all that. But you know what the interesting thing is? Though they are vegetarian on the table, that means the food they eat is vegetarian. But the amount of pain they cause to other human beings is unbelievable. They may be vegetarian in their eating habits, but in their speaking habits, they are violent. They're absolutely non-compassionate. Non-violence is not just at the level of eating. It should be emotional non-violence also. That is the idea of compassion is. Now let's move to the next quality. The next quality that Krishna speaks in the Gita is unchangeable. Avayam. Avaya. The body goes through 9 changes until death. Every aspect of life is about adapting to change. Constant life is changing. In this constantly changing situations of the world, most people want to play safe. Most people hate change. Change makes them insecure. We want to be the same. We are averse to change, but changes do happen. And this gives us anxiety. Understanding the soul is unchangeable helps us with, you know what it helps us with? Externally, everything is changing around us. Rules and regulation, weather, human beings are changing, body is changing, practically everything around us is changing. You know what the most amazing thing that is? The one thing that never changes, and that is not outside of you, that is inside of you, the soul. The soul is unchangeable. That is the fact we are the spirit soul. Lesson here is that less change come from within us. That's the lesson. And the next quality of the soul introduced by Krishna is invisible. Adrishya. You cannot see the soul from a naked eye. You cannot see the soul from even the microscope also. Prabhupada said one interesting line. He said there are so many departments in MIT. But where is the department to study the Almighty? The idea here is to have faith. There are so many things you can't see, we can't see. Soul being invisible pushes us to have some faith. And now, the last quality of the soul, which is achintaya, inconceivable. With material consciousness and material senses, one can never realize his soul. And one can never realize his God. Only when we take into the spiritual process, purify our senses, only then we realize soul and Krishna. Purify oneself and then realize God. This is the motivation for purification. This is the whole idea of developing the impetus, is to understand the inconceivable is about. So each of us have the opportunity where we can actually move ahead and develop the impetus to understand that is something inconceivable otherwise. So let's just quickly summarize these 9 characteristics of the soul and Krishna speaks about in this section of the Gita. First one was individuality. It essentially means we learn the most important lesson, which is do not compare yourself with anybody else. You are unique and there is nobody like you ever. Second quality is indestructible. When we focus on this quality, we develop fearlessness in our hearts. Nobody can destroy the soul, and that helps us become fearless. Third characteristic of the soul is that it is eternal. It gives us quality of developing hope in our lives. I am internal and body will finish, but all my near and dear ones, we can prepare now and keep Krishna at the center and hope that we will always be together and never be separated by the power of time. It will be serving Krishna together in the spiritual world. Means we must use this body to prepare ourselves for the future. Fourth characteristic of the soul is immovable. That means it is rock steady. The more we connect to the soul and the soul connects with Krishna, we can cultivate the quality of determination. The problem today is that we don't feel determined because we are not connected to our spiritual qualities yet. Determination means quality of not giving up. Fifth characteristic of the soul is immeasurable. Approximately 1/10,000th tip of the hair. From this we develop the quality of humility, quality of gratitude and understanding of our own significance. I am small, I am nothing, but I am simply an instrument in the hands of Krishna. And if Krishna wants, he can use me to do any wonder in the world. It's not about me. It's about how God uses me as an instrument in his hands. And sixth characteristic of the soul is all-pervading. When one knows that life is all-pervading, life means the soul. And then we become conscious of the existence of the soul everywhere. We develop the idea of we need to respect all lives, conscious to respect life. Learning that the life is everywhere, not just on a physical level, not just on the point of view of being non-violent on a dining table, when being non-violent in all aspects of life and not hurting or causing pain. Seventh characteristic of the soul is it's unchangeable. The body is changing, constantly changing. The world is constantly changing. Life situations are changing. Life simply passing in adapting, but it leads to tremendous amount of anxiety. So we develop the idea of freedom from anxiety. And when we understand that the body is changing and soul is not changing, we get the source of taking shelter of something that is unchangeable within us. As soon as we learn to connect to Krishna and the fact we are spirit soul, this gives us lots of freedom and anxiety. And the eighth quality is invisible. And from here we develop the idea of faith, that we are urged to cultivate the quality of faith. And then the faith is based on the reasoning. It's not a blind faith. And finally, the last quality, the soul, is inconceivable. And this helps us develop impetus of purification, as it can be conceived by material senses and material consciousness. We have to spiritualize our consciousness and spiritualize our senses so that it becomes an impetus to transform something material into something spiritual. And these are the 9 qualities of the soul, and these 9 qualities help us understand ourselves better. Living a better quality life and living a more fascinated life of contribution. Right, so we covered GI, now we move on to T. T is 2 duties. In these verses, Krishna is talking about karma kanda. Here Krishna is describing 2 essential duties of the spirited soul. First one is swadharma, our duty towards the family, friends, society. And the second one is sanatan dharma, an eternal spiritual duty which comprises of one's relationship with God, nature, and all spirited souls. We must execute both these duties side by side and maintain equal balance. Here Krishna starts instructing Arjuna that don't get distracted by the flowery language of Vedas. In fact, come above the description given in the Vedas, which are under the three modes of material nature. We talked about this. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas, goodness, passion and ignorance. Verses in this section are very popular, and we may have heard a lot of this. Karmanne evadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phal heturbho mate sango sutkarmani. Here Krishna said, work without being attached to the results. Work as a matter of duty, but be detached from the results of your work. Atmarama. In these verses, Krishna answering further questions from Arjuna. What is the result of someone who performs such duties with determination and enthusiasm? And such person becomes Atmaram, a spirited, realized soul who finds pleasure in the self. Krishna explains how the Atmaram is unaffected by happiness or distress, gain or loss, honor or dishonor. A person who attains higher taste, he can give up the lower taste. He can give the lower things, and this higher taste will come when we engage all our senses in the service of the Lord. Such a person who is controlling all the senses, what happens? Krishna said such a person will get real peace. So in this way, Krishna concludes the second chapter, and I'm sure all of us have learned so many things from this chapter. And from the next week, next video onwards, let's start chapter number 3, which is titled as Karma Yoga. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.